Hi, everybody. This is Keith Dietzen. I'm the CEO of Smart Build Systems. In 2024, we finally saw a little bit of a softening uh, as compared to the several previous years, which have been extremely robust. I think as a result of increased interest rates, even though they're starting to come down, of course, and mortgage rates that got back to a multi-year high. That I think combined with the uncertainty of the election in the political atmosphere led to a little bit of softening. Now, having said that, it's nothing even remotely close to what you would call a recession. But I would just say that, and while business is very good, our customers all seem to be enjoying good book business. It's probably off a little bit from what it has been the several previous years. As far as the recent trends in the building industry, especially for the market niches that we serve with Smart Build, um, we continue to see just a lot of activity and a lot of interest around barndominiums, right? So that market just hasn't changed. It hasn't changed in terms of what I call the latent demand. People have a really intense interest in being quoted barndominiums, and then in fact, of course, building barndominiums. So we see the market is continuing to mature in terms of how it serves that market, the mortgage financing market. We're seeing greater acceptance by the banking community to issue mortgages for barndominium projects. We see the contractors maturing in their outlook, whether or not they're going to get their arms around complete fulfillment on interiors and the other trades like mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Sometimes they're outsourcing that. But we see that market continue to evolve. I think that's probably the most significant trend that we see, and it's a continuing trend that started several years ago. So the good news is it's not going away, and I think that the infrastructure is developing to help nurture that market segment on a continuing basis. In answer to the question, how technology has affected construction, I would say it's all pretty much good news. The bad news is that the construction industry, as one of the major industries in the United States, maybe the major 10 industries in the United States, construction, it's true, has always been the last industry to adopt technology. I mean, that's been true. I've been in this business for 45 plus years, and we've seen that all along. It adopts technology more slowly than the other major industries. Having said that, we see a continual forward motion. And, for our company's a great testimonial to how this industry can adopt technology. So we started out 7 years ago, and most everybody in post frame was doing takeoffs by hand, a lot of spreadsheets being used. Now we have over 1,400 licensees, and we're continuing to grow every month with just like clockwork. And in related industries, and we know because we're continually asked to interface with other applications. We see CRM systems that are probably the majority of our customers are using CRM systems. Obviously, accounting software in the hands of most of the building material suppliers, most all of them automated with accounting or ERP systems long ago. But we are seeing more and more movement towards technology on the marketing front, as you guys well know at Top Fox. More and more customers, both building material supply yards and contractors, are using websites, and they're doing web-based marketing. SEO is not a foreign term to any of our customers anymore. More and more of them are using our e-modeler, putting them on our websites, inviting people to come in and design their own. So there is I would just use the term continuum. The construction industry isn't like, for example, the IT industry, the computer industry, where when a new technology makes its way in the scene, it goes through this rapid adoption where there's a rush to get market share, to get to critical mass. We don't see that in construction, but we do see continual growth. So it's very promising, and I suspect that that's going to continue in the years to come. The joke that was very common in the especially the residential part of the construction industry, like in the late 1990s, the joke was, hey, the greatest technical invention to be adopted by the construction industry was the fax machine in the previous 30 years. And it's just true. If you take a look at the way a house is being built today, in fact, you don't have to look at that. You can look at the actual numbers that are put out by consulting firms. You take a look at productivity per whatever it is, per man, by any measure. productivity in the construction industry has not really changed a whole lot in the last 50 years. It just hasn't. You look at the computer industry, the leaps and bounds. That's Moore's law. Moore's law is that, you increase computing power, you double computing power about once every 18 months. And that's been true since the 1960s. So that's why when you take a look at an iPhone today, it has way more computing power than you had on an IBM mainframe in the 1960s. Because that technology has been grown so tremendously. And, seem to be true of pharmaceuticals, for example, biotechnology, communications, but the construction industry it just hasn't, the basic methodology of construction has not changed dramatically. There's probably a little more panelization that there used to be, more factory built housing, but not by leaps and bounds. So if you go to the field and you watch a house being built today, the technology that's being used is pretty much the same as it was 40 years ago. It really was. Using trusses for the roof, poured in place foundation, using form systems, field framers erecting the frame of the structure, and then the subcontractors coming in for all their various trades, drywall, roofers, et cetera, et cetera. So that hasn't changed too much. What has changed is the technology that's used around information generation. And again, Smart Build is a prime example of that, right? I need to figure out what the set of materials are going to be that I need to put in a truck to build this post frame structure. Well, I'm happy to say that with Smart Build, with a little bit of investment work and the data structure up front, now a post frame contractor can, within 15 to 20 minutes on a medium difficulty structure, identify exactly what it's going to take to build that thing. Where if you go back a decade ago, that would be a 4-hour task to figure that out. Now I feel great because Smart Build, has been the author of this great technology that's brought that kind of productivity to the post frame industry. That's a big move forward. It is. But by and large, that's within the context of an industry that in terms of how it executes, really hasn't changed a whole lot in decades. How is AI going to affect construction and specifically post frame? Well, as I just made the observation about the industry as a whole, the field applications where a structure is actually built that technology has not changed substantially. What has changed is the methodology by which information is generated, right? And where the ancillary, the functions that are ancillary to field building, the selling process, for example, contract writing, what have you, doing takeoffs, preparing bids. That's where technology is really kicked in. And I do believe it's a fair statement that AI will have a dramatic effect on that part of the construction industry. Not so much out in the field. I would be surprised to see, there's been a lot of talk, just for example, about 3D printing. That's been talked about now for 20 years, that we'll see 3D printing of structures. Well, fast forward, go out in the field, you're not going to find a plethora of giant 3D printers printing up houses. No, you won't. You'll see a cement truck pouring cement into forms that have been, placed in the ground. You'll see framers swinging away with hammers and nail guns, and that basically you see the same process that was taking place 20, 30, 40 years ago. Information generation, different story. Yeah, sure. AI, I'm confident is going to impact the all aspects of the construction industry, just like it will other industries. Are we using AI? Are we trying to integrate it into Smart Build? That's a great question. I think right now, for anybody who's a software developer, maybe for anybody who's a smart businessman, you got to keep an eye on AI, right? You do. There's no doubt it's going to have a dramatic impact on every industry, and in particular, I think on the software development industry. So even how we write software, it's going to have an impact. So we have actually tried AI. We attempted to integrate some AI functions for our implementation process. And so we tried it for about 4 or 5 months. It wasn't a successful project, but it wasn't a successful project simply because for our industry and the size of our company, we couldn't bring quite enough volume to the table to justify the investment in the AI tools we needed to help out. And we found that the percent of cases, the percent of implementations where that AI would pay dividends was actually relatively low. That's just the nature of our customers' databases. So we've looked at it. We haven't successfully deployed it right now, but that doesn't mean we're not going to keep our eye on it, because even the process of writing code, it is going to become more and more automatable. It will, going down the road. I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I think over the course of the next three to 5 years, we're going to see some really significant improvements there. And that's something that we got to keep our eye on and take advantage of when it's appropriate. What I can share is some homespun wisdom, right, from a guy who's been in it for 45 plus years. So what's true, I think this is more an observation about human nature than technology, right? And it's called, well, what have you done for me lately? And there's nothing wrong with that. But, so for example, with Smart Build, where shoot, our customers now, they can do in 15 minutes what it used to take them 4 hours to do. But the expectation is always, hey, I want to see more. I want to see more. Why can't you do stairways in Smart Build yet? Well, a year from now, we'll be able to say that we can. So I think that, customers in this industry, just like in any industry, become conditioned. And when they learn that this kind of technology can grow and do more things for them, their expectations likewise grow. But like I said, that's not a bad thing. That's how we make progress, right? That's how we make progress. And competition makes us all very, very sharp and delivers the goods to the marketplace. So if one company doesn't come up with technology to please customers, somebody else will, and they'll prevail. And that's a good thing. But it is that demand on the part of the customers that keeps driving us, right? We want to strive to make our customers happy, and that's what drives us to develop better technology. What role does Smart Build play, and where do we fit in? Well, the interesting thing about Smart Build, the parent company of Smart Build for years and years was Keymark, and Keymark has been developing software in the construction industry since 1975. With the Smart Build effort, we made a decision to really focus on the post frame niche and on the all metal building niche. So we've become, I guess you would say, that proverbial expert, knowing a whole lot about a little area, or really focusing on that market niche. And I'm glad that we did, because what we've really become in this industry is the technology leader, right? And that's been acknowledged. So it certainly wasn't a mistake, and there was no secret about it. Our team is very good at developing software, been doing it for a long time. And we just focused on the application just with relentless hard work. So we've been putting a software release out. We started out once every 2 weeks. As the team got larger and more testing was required, the releases went out to about 4 and now sometimes 6 weeks. But the result is that we're the acknowledged market leader in technology to help people automate doing takeoffs, preparing bids, generating 3D models and construction drawings. And so the industry has come to expect that level of performance for us. And I'm glad to say that we're continuing doing what we've done, so that we get these releases that come out once every 4 to 6 weeks. Our customers look forward to it. When we go to trade shows now, over half the traffic we get at a trade show is from existing customers, not prospects. And they're a very grateful customer group. They like what we've been doing. And as I keep telling them, I'll tell you right now, Allie, what we're going to do is more of what we've been doing, right? This is a formula that our customers have come to appreciate. It's rewarded the company. We're doing well. And our plan is just to keep doing more of the same. Listen hard to our customers, see what they want next, and continue coming out with these releases. So the question was, about our cadence, about our release schedule. As I was just saying, it's not a secret to success, but the formula for our success is the continual application of capable people who know how to develop software, who listen to customers and continually come out with releases of software. The buzzword in the software development industry for what we're doing is agile. And agile software development is characterized by very frequent releases of software, right? And very close customer contact. So iteration, come out with a new feature, let your customers use it, get their feedback, go back and fine tune it. And what's the old saying? I think it's wash, spin, dry, release, something like that. Anyway, that is our formula. So yes, where you take a look at some of the large successful software companies, and for them it might be a big deal to come out with a release once a year. Well, our customers are used to seeing a release come out once a month, and that's good because if there's something they want to see, we came out with a feature and it's not doing the trick, and they want to see it modified, fine tuned. Well, being an agile software development company, our customers know they won't have to wait really for a very long time. And similarly, we have bugs just like every other software development team does. It's inevitable. It's part of what happens in software. If you waited until you had a perfect software package, you'd never ever release, right? And you'd have very dissatisfied customers. So we've had our fair share too of bugs, and we call them Sev 1 bugs, severity 1. If it stops people from running the software, that's a Sev 1 bug. And what we do is we drop everything when that happens. And our customers know what that is because we come out with a hot patch. And generally speaking, we'll come out same day, sometimes within an hour or two of identifying a serious problem, and we'll come out with a hot patch. So I think being agile, being nimble, as a lot of people would term it, being nimble is important. It's important to keep our customers satisfied. And so I think that is one of the secrets to our success. But I always say this, the accolades need to go to the software development team because they've done a great job. They really have. And that's the reason that Smart Guild stands out as the standard in the post-frame industry. So what are the most impactful developments at Smart Build that have really affected the industry? There are a couple of just high-level ones where we hit the industry right between the eye. And as you know, on our website, our value proposition, very simply stated, is, hey, in 15 minutes, do the most accurate takeoff you've ever had in your life, at reducing the amount of time it takes from 3.5 hours down to 15 minutes. I mean, that in a nutshell is the high level value proposition that Smart Build brings to the industry, right? So that's undoubtedly that's had a huge impact on businesses and on people. I mean, I do all of our first point of contact sales work, and I talk to contractors routinely. And it's very routine to hear that, yeah, I own the company and I spend 30 hours a week, maybe 40 hours a week doing bids. And it's taken me, I can do 3 a day at best. And I'm not getting home for dinner until it's 7 o'clock, right? And I'm working on weekends. You hear it all the time. And after they successfully implement Smart Build, they're down to 15 or 20 minutes. It's transformational. So that's had a huge impact. We've helped make companies more successful. We've given people a lot of time back in their lives. So that's been huge, right? Just a tremendous savings in time, yep. An increase in accuracy as well, right? Once you get it dialed in, you get the data structure, and you're using Smart Build, the software program, you're not going to have those routine errors that happen when you're doing manual operations. The second thing is just the selling proposition, much more gratifying. And we give people the ability to be so much more professional in what they do. So what did the before picture look like for that same contractor I mentioned? Well, somebody says they want a bid on a barnuminium, right? Well, because it takes me, I can only do 2 or 3 a day. I'm out 2 weeks on bids. So I have to tell my customer that, my client, I'll get back to you with the bid in about 2 weeks. And I send an email. Well, then when they get that email, they line it up with 5 or 6 other emails. They probably forgot who that contractor was. That's not a very effective selling process, right? It's not very gratifying. It's not very successful. The success rate, in fact, is pretty low. It's about 15%, 1 out of every 6 or 7 bids. Because when that bid gets back and the client lines up those bids on a table, what's going to drive their thinking? Well, that the price is going to be probably front and center. That's going to be really important. Fast forward now with Smart Build, that backlog of 2 weeks, now it's maybe less than a day. And when someone calls and says, hey, my wife and I are thinking about a barnuminium, we'd like to get a quote. Well, now that same contractor, this can be his new sales approach. Well, look, I'm going to send you a link, or come on over to my office. Let's sit down and we're going to design your building real time, right? Now the client is seeing their building in 3D. They're laying out their floor plan and they can see it and they love it. They love it and they can do what ifs. So in that environment, our contractor is now engaging their client in a very close personal way. And the professional effect of having that 3D model that they're sharing real time with their client just raises the professionalism of that sales presentation. And that shows in the close rate. Our customers tell us when they operate in that mode, they close more than half of those situations. So those are two just dramatic impacts that we've had, and further to the point of, employing technology in the sales process. Now with people putting our smart build, the e-modeler version on their website, now it's also become a great tool for generating sales leads. How do I even get those clients to pick up the phone and call me? Well, if you're on the website and I'm using SEO to attract people on my website, now people can design their own building. They love to do that, and users, they get very wonky about that. They like to get on and see their own building in 3D. So they design and submit their information to our customer, who can generate a price for them. And by doing that, they capture a lot of lead information. So it's had a dramatic impact there. And another huge impact has just been on the back end, right? So the nuts and bolts of how we do business, right? How do we, if I'm a supplier and I have price updates, in the past I'd send an email around to people or maybe fax, and they'd all have to go take a look at these prices and do whatever they did, update spreadsheets and everything. Well, with Smart Build now, a company like a Graver Post Buildings or a Burroughs Post Frame Supply, our biggest distributors, well, they can automatically update their pricing to their clients via their Smart Build. So now those customers don't even have to lift a finger. And when it comes time for ordering materials, well, the contractors who buy from a Smart Build supplier, they push a button. We take that job, spend design in Smart Build, we automatically generate that material list, send it over to the supplier. So there's no longer somebody sitting at a desk, looking up part numbers, typing stuff in, making errors, and having frustrated customers. So we really cleaned up that part of the business as well on the back end. So those are some of the main things that I can think of that have had a really positive impact on this whole industry. Feel really good about it. Looking forward to 2025, there are a lot of things to be grateful for and excited about. And if anything, sometimes the temptation is too great, a little bit like being a kid with your hand in the cookie jar, right? So we have some exciting developments we're taking a look at Smart Build. We've closed a couple of very large builders here recently. I mean, so look forward first to just the continued success, what we talked about earlier in this interview, by continuing with our business as usual, coming out with these releases, improving Smart Build, continuing to grow. We look forward to continued growth in 2025. We've recently welcomed a couple of large builders, FBI Building and Wick Buildings, who adopted Smart Build. So we look forward to getting them totally on board in the year 2025. We're looking for additional developments. I've talked before in some of the emails that we send to our customers about the possibility of a window and door configurator. Well, I'm excited to say that we now are talking to a couple of manufacturers who want to cooperate in this effort. So it's a little bit to be determined yet, but we're putting together a design, and I'm hoping that we'll move forward on writing that software and making that available sometime during the year 2025. I think that'll be a tremendous boost for customers, given that ability. We're looking at the possibility of cooperating with a structural engineering software company, so that in our all metal building segments, we'll be able to interface Smart Build with some engineering programs that can actually offer design on pre-engineered metal buildings, which is a requirement we see in the metal building niche that's not very intense at all in the post frame end of the business. So we'll see what happens there. There's not an absolute certainty we're going down that path, but we're investigating. We think there's a really high likelihood that we're gonna head down that path. So those are some of the things that we're looking at right now, and I'm sure more opportunities will present themselves. But just the business as usual aspect of what we're doing is something I'm very excited about, because it's been so gratifying and our customers love it. And so that much is sure. Okay, that much everybody can bank on. We're not going away. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. And, a couple of these topics, we might come up with some new technologies during the course of 2025. And everybody's going to be made aware of it as we make those decisions. So what advice would I have for companies in the construction industry with the changing technology? This is just good business best practice, right? And that is to always keep yourself informed, right? Keep yourself informed. Read as much as you can. Go to the trade shows. Investigate. Network with people, and make sure that you're kept abreast of what those technologies are and where they're going. You don't want to, you don't want to fall behind. You don't want to be left out. The extreme can be dangerous. They say you can always tell the pioneers by the arrows in their back. So you want to be careful about what technologies you adopt. And again, I come back to Smart Build because I know that so well, and it's a great case study, right? So right now, if we have perhaps 15 to 20% market share today, that means that there are a whole lot of people, 80% of the people who haven't adopted Smart Build. Well, after 7 years, there sure shouldn't be very much question about the viability or the effectiveness of our technology, right? I mean, it's been shown again and again and again how effective it is. So that's a perfect case study where there are people who are still doing takeoffs by hand. And it boggles the mind when you think about that. It'd take me 4 hours by hand to sit down and do what I could be doing in 15 minutes. And if I'm going to be doing that 30 hours a week, it just borders on silly, doesn't it? I mean, so anyway, that's my point. There are a lot of technologies out there, and more technologies will emerge. And so I think a smart businessman just has to keep his eyes and his ears open and be open-minded to it, right? Vet the technologies. You got to check them out, right? You probably don't want to be the first kid in the block. You don't. I wouldn't recommend it. But, so talk to other people, network, educate yourself, right? Read periodicals, but then don't be afraid to move forward. Even a turtle. I remember that saying, even a turtle has to stick out his neck to get ahead, right? So if there are technologies that improve in themselves, it's kind of silly to sit around and wait and be a laggard in terms of adoption.